Welcome in to another edition of Steve on Your Side, streaming on 9 News Plus. Today, we're talking about everybody's favorite thing. Parking. Something you and I have learned an awful lot about.
We do a lot of parking in downtown.
We do.
But you know what they say about parking?
What is that?
It's always your first and last experience when you come downtown.
It is. And so you want that experience to be good. So we heard from a lot of people about a parking lot at 1522 Boulder Street. We're actually pulling up there right now. Magic of television. It's a parking lot, $5 an hour, $12 for the day rate. People were emailing and saying, hey, I paid that money and I got a ticket from this company I've never heard of before.
My friend and I parked there just to go to a ring making class across the street.
Went to a restaurant.
I came here for a date night with my wife.
Mackenzie, Mark, and Darren are complete strangers who now share a common bond. They all parked at this lot at the corner of 15th and Boulder in Lodi.
Scanned the QR code. I paid $17 to park for a couple of hours.
Got on the app and paid for my parking on the phone.
They all paid on time.
I paid right over there in the kiosk.
And weeks later, they all got a letter telling them they didn't pay and that they owed $87.
When I got this ticket, it's from PRRS.
To understand PRRS, you need to understand how this lot works. The lot's owner contracts with a company called Parkwell to manage it. Parkwell contracts with several different vendors to collect payment through QR codes in that kiosk. Then Parkwell contracts with PRRS, Parking Revenue Recovery Services, to enforce the payment.
It just seemed really shady.
PRRS snaps photos of license plates. The cameras then check in with those payment providers to see if there's a transaction associated with the plate. If there isn't, they mail out that $87 ticket with a threat. Pay it in 30 days or they'll send it to collections.
I sent a screenshot of my Apple Card statement showing my purchase with the address of the purchase.
Our parking strangers thought they were fine because they all had proof. You've shown them your credit card statement.
Showed them credit card statement.
I had proof on my credit card.
But PRRS said they needed a receipt. A receipt parkers all say they never got.
I was just like, I'm tired of dealing with these people. I have proof, so I'm just going to blast them on a review on Google.
7 others blasted Parkwell's lot on Google, describing the same situation. It's not the first time PRRS has been called out for the way that they ticket and try to collect.
We got a number of complaints about how PRRS did business.
Last summer, Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser reached a $75,000 settlement with PRRS, alleging they'd violated Colorado's Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Weiser told me ticketing people who've paid to park, that wasn't part of the settlement, but...
The story you just told me of a company charging a consumer, not giving a receipt, and then going after the consumer for not paying, that's not fair behavior.
If you send 20 of those out a day, that starts to add up.
You're right, Mark, it does. Parkwell told us they average about 6,000 of these citations a month, and 10% of those, so let's say 600, end up being bad tickets. 600 a month thrown out because people take the time to appeal.
Some people may just pay $87, which I think is wrong. But if you don't pay, if it goes on your record and hurts your credit, there could be financial ramifications.
PRRS and Parkwell both told us this was the result of a glitch. The payment system wasn't talking to the cameras.
It's a pain because it just eats time into my day. I don't have time to chase all this
I
stuff.
hope you actually make a change and PRRS stops doing shady shit.
To understand what went wrong here, you have to know how these private parking lots work. They are operated by companies. In this case, the one at 1522 Boulder Street is run by Parkwell. Parkwell contracts with a payment provider, to take a payment. So they use an app with a QR code or this kiosk. And the kiosks and the payment providers are supposed to talk with PRRS and their camera system. PRRS says in this case, the payment provider was giving them late information, so the notices were going out when people had paid. They told us that after this story exposed that they voided 8,000 citations sent out to people and even refunded about $120,000. But it's not just private parking lots where this enforcement is happening.
Cherry Creek's tough. You find a spot on the curb there, you're pretty excited.
Jason McLaren was pumped when he found a spot right in front of North in Cherry Creek where he and his wife were planning to have dinner. The glow wore off when he found a ticket on the window when they walked out.
Definitely confusing because it was from Laz Parking, And I was like, well, I'm in the city of Denver at a parking meter.
He contacted the company collecting on that ticket, Parking Revenue Recovery Service, PRRS.
You must be mistaken. And they said, no, you parked in one of our lots and you owe us money.
But Jason wasn't parked in a lot. He was at a meter. And Jason's wife has a disabled parking placard. The city of Denver allows people with disabilities to park for free at parking meters.
When I sent some paperwork just saying, hey, you're mistaken, this is what happened, and they said, oh, we disagree, but we'll reduce it to 15.
Strange. The meters on this block of Clayton and Cherry Creek, they all appear to be Denver parking meters.
I mean, it looks just like any other meter anywhere in the city.
They're even the same model. But the city tells us this block is actually private property, a private street.
Have you ever seen a sign that says not a public street or something like that?
I have not.
Yeah.
Until today. See that red sticker facing the curb on these meters? It says that you're parking on private property enforced by PRRS. Important information, because if you overstay your welcome at a parking meter here, it'll cost you $92, $97 when you add in the $5 convenience fee to PRRS. That's nearly 3 times what the city charges for an expired meter ticket, $35. The meter where Jason parked, that sticker was practically non-existent.
And I don't know if the city should tell us that it's not their street, or the people that own the street, or the last company that's being paid to enforce it. I didn't know. I doubt many people know that that's a private street right in the center of Denver.
So after those 2 stories aired, our inbox got filled with people who have had problems with PRRS. They've gotten those citations, tried to dispute them, had trouble getting PRRS's attention. You know, this was obviously a problem.
But this isn't a new problem, right? Like,
No.
Talk to me about the AG.
So remember, we talked about the settlement between PRRS and the AG. That was all rooted in a lot of complaints that the Attorney General's office had gotten about this. One of the things they specifically said in that agreement is that if a driver pulls into a lot, goes to a kiosk, enters their license plate or does it on an app, enters their license plate incorrectly but pays for parking, PRRS can't enforce a citation in a situation like that, which is what made Lynn Zucker's email really interesting. Lynn Zucker's job in October was to make sure Denver's elections were fair.
I worked downtown as a signature verification judge.
She just wishes she got a bit of fairness in return.
I parked down at 12th and Bannock. It was one of these machines that you put in your license plate number and then put in your money.
Running late for work that day, Lynn entered her license plate, swiped her card, and then moved on. A few days later,
I got a notice of noncompliance, and the noncompliance said, you didn't pay for parking here, and so consequently, it's now $87. And this was a $16 lot.
when she thought about it, she realized her error right away.
I transposed my license plate. As soon as I did it, I thought, oh God, I did this wrong. But it was like 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of 4, 3, 2, 1.
An honest mistake. She thought PRRS's dispute team would understand since she paid after all. So she fired off an email.
They sent me back an email and they said, you either have to show us the ticket or you have to show us a credit card statement.
Lynn says the kiosk is pretty spotty when it comes to receipts.
This particular machine spit out tickets occasionally and not so much.
Something we confirmed during a quick visit to the lot this week.
Not wanting to take it. It doesn't give receipts anyway.
So she sent along her credit card statement, even circled the transaction on October 17th to a company called Selkirk LLC. They own the lot. $16 paid to park for the day. End of story, right?
Maybe 2 weeks later, I get another email. We have carefully reviewed your dispute. Based on the provided information, you did not pay to use the facility.
But based on the provided information,
I did!
Dispute denied with an offer.
However, because you are trying to resolve this issue, we're going to take $20 off.
What a deal, huh? Lynn didn't think so.
They're just trying to get money out of me. You know, however much they can get more out of me. They've already got my $16, so they want more of my money. I'm not going to give it to them. I absolutely refuse to give it to them.
She responded saying she still wasn't going to pay.
This last Friday, my birthday, I get this letter in the mail from an attorney saying that this matter has now gone to collection. And collection was in capital letters.
What happened to Lynn technically isn't supposed to happen anymore.
We got a number of complaints about how PRRS did business.
Last summer, Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser announced a settlement with PRRS over specific complaints about how the company tried to collect debt from customers. One of them?
A consumer did park, and then maybe the license plate was entered a little bit incorrectly, and they went to bill that consumer, trying to make them pay twice. They had already paid for it, but just might have misentered the license plate.
Though PRRS denied the allegations at the time and denied them again when Steve on Your Side asked about Lynn's case. They said what happened to Lynn was a technology glitch, and they waived her ticket.
It makes me angry that they're trying to take advantage of people when we absolutely have proof that we've paid for this.
So this is the lot where Lynn parked. It's really close to Denver Elections and the Denver Art Museum. You might remember Lynn says she didn't get a receipt that day because the machine sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. When we visited this lot, we really found out that is the case.
Make sure you pay. You don't want to get one of the $87 tickets from this company.
Please insert credit card.
Or how do I get a receipt?
Not wanting to take it.
It doesn't give receipts anyway.
It said it was authorized.
Wait, it didn't even give you a receipt?
No.
It's not giving anyone a receipt.
There's been two people ahead of us.
They didn't get a receipt either?
No.
No receipt? No.
We got it on tape, so you guys are fine.
I may be calling you if
Yeah,
I get
you
an
might.
$87 bill.
You might.
Wait, did you get the last receipt?
Oh, look, I got the other half of your receipt.
I got a stump. It's like a friendship bracelet.
There you go. Time Park, the company that runs this lot, says they aren't sure what was wrong with the receipt machine that day because they keep it stocked with paper. They say it shouldn't be a problem. It was working today, by the way, when we checked in on it. Now, if you have proof that you parked in one of these lots and you're trying to dispute the ticket that you get, one thing you can't do is go to court, because these big red signs that PRRS posts in their lot say that you agree that the sole remedy for all unresolved disputes is binding arbitration, and that you waive the right to class action or class arbitration. So if you get one of these tickets, you're really stuck dealing with PRRS's dispute department, which we found could be a real pain.
Got into a parking issue that made no sense.
No sense, says Richard McKee, because he knows when, where, and why he parked his car here.
Volunteer work, my wife and I, for Denver Elections.
Last year's spring primary, in fact, brought him here almost daily to park, right next to Denver's election headquarters. Each day he arrived, he swiped his credit card at a kiosk, so it surprised him to get a ticket in the mail from a company called PRRS.
They're saying that we parked overnight. There's no reason for us to park overnight in downtown Denver.
He figured the ticket offered the proof he needed. On it, 2 pictures snapped from an automated camera. The first one arriving one day, the second exiting the next. Problem is, that's him arriving. The system failed to account for him leaving the night before.
The picture clearly shows us coming in one morning and driving into the lot on another morning. They're claiming that we stayed overnight and only paid for one day.
Richard disputed the $92 ticket, even provided the credit card statement that showed he paid for parking at that lot on both days.
They ignored that. Don't think I ever talked to a real person. So I'm not sure whether this information I sent them ever got anybody's attention.
It seemed no matter what proof he offered, it was never good enough. And so, worried about collections, Richard relented and paid $92.
I couldn't have my credit ruined over something as silly as parking.
It's not okay to go after people for fines that they don't owe.
Sabrina Wright Hobart.
I was here for the Front 242 concert.
She refused to pay her ticket for Rockstar parking at a concert in November.
I parked right here.
Wait, you parked this close to a concert
venue?
venue?
The door is right there on the other side.
Sabrina paid $5 to park in this Rhino lot, even had the receipt for it.
A couple of weeks ago, I received a letter in the mail from PRRS Parking saying that I didn't pay for my parking.
So Sabrina disputed the ticket.
And they replied back after receiving the receipt showing that proof of payment, that was not enough proof of payment.
Sabrina and Richard were just two of many people who reached out to Steve on Your Side after our reporting showed others who also paid for parking and got tickets. Each told us no matter what proof they provided, it simply was never enough.
I sent them an export of the credit card.
I sent a screenshot showing my purchase.
Provided them with the evidence that I had paid for it.
All were denied by PRRS.
Anytime I get an email from someone that has those 4 letters in it, I can imagine, I already know how the rest of the email is going to be written.
Denver City Councilman Chris Hines represents downtown, where many of the private parking lots use PRRS's automated enforcement tools. Since those automated cameras went in, the city tells us complaints about parking have increased. While the city licenses operators of parking lots, they don't regulate ticketing.
We want people to feel like they can come downtown and not worry or wonder.
The company's CEO told us Greenwood Village-based PRRS gets about 4,000 to 5,000 disputes over citations each week for the 28 states where they operate.
You'd have to have a sizable army of claims adjusters, or I don't know what they're called.
Hines wonders if the company even has the time to look at each case individually.
One of the many things that we're considering is, should the operator also have a license?
PRRS's co-founder, John Conway, wouldn't do an on-camera interview with us, but did share his thoughts about government regulation on his podcast.
Regulation, government, they can't even keep up with the technology. They don't even know what to do with systems like ours.
The hot dog stands on the corner are regulated. Why wouldn't this major business be regulated?
That one ticket wasn't Richard's last experience with PRRS. During November's general election, he says he tried really hard not to park in a PRRS lot, went to a different lot. And wouldn't you know it, parking enforcement at that lot was also led by PRRS.
I decided may as well go ahead and pay this right away.
But you had proof that you paid that day.
I do.
Why'd you pay that? Why not dispute it?
Because of the issues I had the first time trying to dispute it.
PRRS blames all those problems on technical glitches they say they're getting sorted out, and they say they do a lot of these transactions every day, and any of the disputes usually get worked out in a pretty timely manner. Now, we want to know, have you gotten a ticket from one of these license plate reading cameras inside a private parking lot? And have you had a problem disputing it, or any other problem with private parking enforcement? Steve on Your Side at 9news.com is the email. That's how you get in touch with us. That's all for this week. I'm Steve Stager, Steve on Your Side, 9 News.